The Rockpile Report.
Buffalo, New York is going to be the epicenter of every stargazing nerd's wet dream.
With Buffalo Bills season ticket holder, Drew Geter.
If there was ever a time to break out Skyline Chili, it's when the Bills are 5-2, right?
The Rockpile Report. The pettiest, hardest drinking Bills podcast.
Everybody to another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill, season ticket holder Drew Geter. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. In studio with us tonight, Mr. Hugo Carmona, all the way from Portugal. And we are here talking about our Week 11 matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. Guys, first of all, cheers. We've made it. Good to see you, Hugo.
Likewise.
Do we get it out of the way now? Or do we save it for the live show?
I think we save it for the live show.
All right. So if you're listening to this, you already heard about my job. We'll hit that on the live stream, which comes next.
When you lean in there, just get good and friendly with the microphone. Chris criticizes me for this all the time. You know. He tells me I'm not a professional. I feel like most of our guests know how to speak into a microphone better than I do.
You do. That is true. And you're also sitting below the mic, which on camera, you look like a child looking up into a microphone. It's like bringing Jack over. That's what it looks like.
Or like a child gorilla in the zoo.
All right. Enough of the peanut gallery. Guys, we are here for the preview of the Bills-Chiefs game here. Week 11, Chris, I'll just kind of run it down from the top before we get into catching up here with our friend Hugo. Week 11 preview, the time, is it 4:05 kickoff?
God, you're so dumb.
I love saying it wrong because I see his face.
4:25.
I love his stupid face every time I say it wrong.
4:25 Nance and Romo, it's nationally televised.
Ralph Wilson Stadium, the weather, Chris. What do you think the weather's going to be like this week, given what we've seen already, Hugo? Like your experience with Buffalo weather so far this season.
Yeah, so basically yesterday was actually a Portuguese, not a holiday. Mm-hmm. It's a Saint Valentine's, not the heart and all that stuff. Was a guy that cut his cape in half and gave his money to a beggar. So in Portugal, there's normally always good weather, and we ate roasted chestnuts, and we go to the cellars and drink wine. And actually, I was in a heartland of America, like a 7th-generation farmer, and they say, "Oh, this is," and normally the weather we get. And I say, "Well, in Portugal, this is a holiday where there's always good weather." So when I came away, it was probably like 40 Fahrenheit lower. So I think it was 33 Fahrenheit when I woke up and came here. So if this keeps up, I'm guessing it will be, nippy weather.
It's actually going to warm up. In fact, you're going to be looking at some of the warmest weather you've seen since, it was actually colder for the first tailgate. I think at the start of the day, it's going to be about 49 degrees, 7% chance of precipitation, which means it'll be another. You've gotten lucky that you haven't gotten snowed on this year.
I bring good weather then.
You bring you're doing something, because last time it was sunny and gorgeous. This time it's only partly cloudy, 50 degrees with a slight wind. I feel like, Chris, isn't that perfect weather conditions for a game like this?
Yeah, I hate when we get I think it was last year we had a handful of games, home games that were rainy, snowy. So far this year, everything's been fucking nice. And another game against the Chiefs, nice weather, so that leaves us, San Francisco, the Jets, and Patriots are our 3 home games left.
Yep.
So hopefully we get snow for them.
Yeah, hopefully we can get snow for San Francisco. I think that would be fun. But 506 Sports Map, since we're going to have the TV on, obviously, if you stop by the tailgate, we're going to have plenty of grub. Also, you're going to want to swing by the Mafia House, the Bills Mafia House. Iman Azizi is going to be representing Q42. We're going to kind of split the tailgate this week. There's a toy drive going on at the Bills Mafia House. Every donation of a new or gently used toy is going to get you a raffle ticket for signed merchandise from TSE Buffalo. Jim Ruthier kind of runs that kind of expo. They sell a lot of signed merchandise. There's a lot of things being donated. It's a big fundraiser for the Western New York area. And so Iman's going to go over there. He's going to be cooking food. He's going to be kind of giving out samples of things. Going to have some product on hand if you want to stop by and give it a try. And it's all to support a really good cause, which is the Poncho's Army annual toy drive. So again, if you're going to be in Orchard Park for the weekend, make sure you stop by our tailgate over at Dock Slot. You can meet Hugo. We can talk about some of the other things that we'll have going on as we kind of get into what Hugo's been doing since he got here. But also make sure you stop by the Mafia House. Say hi to Iman. There's going to be tri-tip. There's going to be chicken wings. They're going to have a pull behind smoker, handing out samples of all kinds of goodness. Those guys are going to be working hard. I think they have 3 or 4 different briskets they're making. It's going to be an incredible time, and it helps out a really great cause for the Western New York area. So again, Sunday morning, Mafia House. Make sure you stop by with a new or gently used toys, and you can get yourself raffle tickets for autographed Bills merchandise.
Well, I'll be there, and I'll bring some toys.
There you
Brand
go.
new.
There you go. And if you need more details, at Rockpile Report on our Twitter, it'll be the pinned tweet for the remainder of the week. And Chris, what are we going to be watching at our tailgate while people are over there donating? Because we're going to have the TV on.
We have 2 1:00 games. We get Baltimore at Pittsburgh on
That's a good game.
CBS.
That's a great game.
And then Fox, we get Green Bay at Chicago.
Well, that
That game will have no Shane Waldron. So there you go.
The Shane Waldron-less Chicago Bears. I'm sure somewhere E.J. Snyder's heart is breaking.
Yeah.
Just envisioning it.
isn't he pitching now 10th?
So, Hugo, one of the things that we'll also have at the tailgate that you were kind enough to bring us all the way from Portugal, we have an array of wines here in front of us. Can you give us a little background on this?
Oof, well, it's too much pressure on me. It's like
pressure.
I've been awake until 5 a.m. I have here like my help. I hope I can do this by head. If not, I have here my reminder, breaking the fourth wall or whatever you want to call it, teleprompter. Okay, so.
Hey, at least you can read a teleprompter.
Yeah, that's more than...
Unlike some people.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So, I find it appropriate that the Buffalo Bills games against the Kansas City Chiefs is the Salute to Service game, because I'm here wearing my Salute to Service Bills hoodie.
Get up to the mic on that.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to be like Drew. Impregnated with gunpowder and dirt from the heartland of this great nation. So I have met several veterans. They were very generous, sharing their experiences, allowing me to fire guns, something I can't do back in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
So what I find inappropriate is the way that this great nation sometimes treats its veterans. Why do the skills they learn in the military can't be used in civilian life? Aggravates me. For example, if someone drives a truck with dangerous materials in a war zone in Iraq, why can't they do it in civilian life in America? But I digress. So I always wanted to give back to them and to the nice American people like you have shared their little piece of America with me, but I didn't know how. So I asked you, I asked Chris, I actually have asked smart people like Greg Thompson. I have asked in the north. I have asked in the south.
I like how he differentiates that. I just want to notice he differentiates me and smart people like Greg Thompson.
So I have asked in the south. I have asked in the heartland of America, and I couldn't get a single correct answer. So I found that, okay, so this may be something I could give back. Sorry about the microphone, because that's the thing. I like to talk to someone looking in their face. It's
conversational.
Yeah. So
hey,
I'll try to do correct.
Nobody wants to look at Drew's face, not even his wife.
Okay. So I know that now I have something. Okay, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of history that I could give back to all the people who have given me something. So this drink that we have here, probably now with the camera, the mystery is gone, but I'll try to do what I had planned. So this drink is why John Hancock's ship was detained, which led to the Boston riots. George Washington's favorite drink, which he, depending on where you read, like once per day or several times per day. Well, we're men, we know how it is.
Yeah.
So when he retired, on his retirement party, there were 55 people. 54 bottles of this were consumed.
Wow.
There's actually a bar tab, authentified bar tab, where you can double check this.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, for the Louisiana Purchase, which doubled the American, I think, land at the time.
Yeah.
So France toasted with champagne, Spain with Malaga, and America with this drink. So the Declaration of Independence, which I guess probably a big deal around here.
It might be.
It was toasted with this drink also.
Really?
Yeah. So Betsy Ross, while she was stitching the stars to the first American flag, she had this drink on her side table. And Francis Scott Key, he was drinking this, penning the poem that would become the first, or probably the only, I don't know, American anthem. Being inspired by after Fort McCarthy was bombed, or I don't know, by the British, and at dawn he looked up and the flag was still standing. But not just historical facts, more than this. So this wine becomes better the tougher the conditions. This was used as ballast on ships, and they found out that the tougher the conditions, heat, whatever, that the ships traveled in, the better this would become. So at the time, this was the perfect wine to define America or the colonies. You could have this wine in the hot south or the cold north, doesn't matter. So, yeah. So apart from being the perfect drink for America, it's the drink that perfectly represents America. The tougher it gets, the better it gets. And so I will open one of the bottles that will be available on the Rockpile Report tailgate. So if you want to taste a bit of America, be as inspired as the founding fathers of this great nation, just come. If not, you're a loser.
Ain't that right?
And so I will toast this with Drew and Chris, and for the sacrifice that all the veterans and current service members do for this great nation. So, go America, go Bills, and I, Hugo Carmona, approve of this message.
Guys, that's a hell of a thing here. And it's funny because if you look at the colors of the wine, Hugo, the colors of wine you brought, what do you got there?
So if I roughly translate the grape that they have, so it's like red, white, just a call that is, and blue.
Red, white, and blue represents America, represents the Buffalo Bills. And just like the Buffalo Bills, when things get tough, this stuff gets better.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Here, if you want to hold up a glass, I'd be more than happy to share a little bit of this with you, man. And thank you so much for being here. This is Chris. You want to fill your glass?
That's good.
Because that's the thing, like when I asked what was the most American drink, I got like beer, bourbon, Coke, and I said, you're all wrong.
You're all wrong.
You're all wrong. And I'm a Portuguese, and even I know that.
Hugo, to your travels.
Cheers. So let me know what you think of it. I know that you're an expert.
I don't know about you guys, but the smell that I get on this,
It's actually really good.
you know what the smell I get? Smell it. I get Fig Newtons.
Fig.
That's what I get on the nose. Fig Newtons.
I expected more of a boozy taste, but it's not. It's very palatable. This is really smooth.
I'll be honest. I just tasted this before coming here because I never tasted. So I went to taste it, and I was actually impressed.
Yeah, this is incredible. Guys,
It's a Fig Newton in a glass. It tastes like a Fig Newton, too.
guys, we're going to have these 3 bottles. We're going to have wine, again, that you just heard him beautifully describe, available at our tailgate for tasting. And we do recommend anybody served has to come hang out with us for an afternoon to grub. Come with us, help us break bread over at the Mafia House. I think it's a great sentiment that you brought to our show, and it almost made me a little emotional hearing you talk about it, man.
Well,
I love that you're here.
Yeah, because America's #1.
Of course.
And we proved that last week.
Yeah, because the thing is, if I would have run this election, I would get a lot of votes, because probably...
You probably would have.
Yeah, just speaking like this, because I speak from the soul, and I probably don't have a campaign manager as bad as Nathaniel Hackett is as a physics coordinator, so...
Yeah, I get strong Fig Newton on this.
It's really, really tasty.
But I know Chris. Chris is like a connoisseur. Chris, after this, you have to taste the other 2 bottles, and then you get...
Can we save it for the tailgate?
Yeah.
Or yes, but I want your opinion on it.
So, guys, we're here talking about the Kansas City Chiefs ahead of what... I don't know. I go back and forth about this, and I've heard a lot of bullshit about it on social media, on the radio today. Nobody can seem to make up their minds whether or not this game means anything. You've got 2 warring factions, and I can't wrap my head around this sentiment, but I'm doing my best, Chris, and let's see if we can walk through it together.
Are we 3 in a row in the regular season on the Chiefs?
I think
I believe so, yes. We've beaten them 3 consecutive regular season matchups, and then we've lost 3 consecutive matchups in the postseason.
When it matters.
Yeah, exactly. But here's what's funny to me about this specific matchup. Again, it might mean everything and it might mean absolutely nothing. Hugo, what if I were to tell you that right now the only 2 teams in the entire NFL that even with a loss this week wouldn't see their projected playoff odds drop below 99%?
Well,
what would you say if I told you that, like, how would that impact your emotions about what the meaning of this game is?
Well, to be honest, is like this game doesn't matter. We are so for me on the NFL is like first thing, get in the playoffs, and that means win the division, which due to the lack of competence from our rivals, it's probably done. So this game doesn't mean anything. It's especially because everyone against the Chiefs shits their pants like on the final minutes. So probably this won't mean anything. So I don't care. Like if you lose and we just do the reverse, like we lose now and win against the playoffs, I would prefer that. I'll be honest.
And you're not the only one who feels that way. And
I'm the opposite.
Yep.
To me, it means something because yes, we have lost the last 3 times we've met in the playoffs. I want that head-to-head matchup, if it's going to come down to a tied record and we have the head-to-head and we get home field advantage. That's the only meaning for this game, is that game can be played here in Buffalo. I don't want to go on the road into Kansas City in the playoffs at all.
That's a fair point. Playoff, home, away, all records being equal. But I guess... I don't know. And I've been struggling with this all day because I don't understand either side, really. Like, I exist in the center, and I'll explain why. I think first of all, there's a lot of pressure on each team, right? The Buffalo Bills need a win. I think, in this week's recap, we kind of walked through painstakingly just how poor NFL competition is right now. And because of that, I think that you can sometimes, maybe it means more to us as fans than it does the players, but you can start to think this thing of like, whoa, they can't beat anybody who's actually good. And it's like, well, dude, we can't just manifest 20 games against the Chiefs and the Ravens. We can't play them multiple times a season. You play who's on your schedule. It's not our fault that they're all peasants. So there's some of that thing of like, well, we need to prove ourselves, measuring stick game. And I understand that as fans, we romanticize that. I don't think the players see it that way or carry that around, but I think that a win, Chris, you see this in hockey sometimes. when a hockey team that's kind of in a slump gets us like a big win over probably like a division rival or plays a tough game and comes out, you can
like Montreal on Monday.
You can build momentum off of that, even in places where maybe you sometimes don't deserve it. And so in that way, there is a lot that a win in this could do for the Buffalo Bills. Maybe just mentally. Going into the bye week ahead of the last, like maybe the meat of our schedule. I mean, we've got to go out there and play the Lions. We play the 49ers, the Lions, and the Rams in consecutive weeks. That's a gauntlet. And,
Lions and Rams on the road.
Yeah, and so those are away. You could do with a real boost of confidence going into your bye week, knowing you're banged up, if you can go out there and get a game against the Chiefs now. There's also pressure on Kansas City because you're unfortunately, whether they like it or not, chasing history.
You see the rest of their schedule?
Yeah, look at this. The Carolina Panthers, the Raiders again, the Chargers, there's a chance. I was talking to somebody about this weekend. There's a chance that Week 17 game where Kansas City has to go to Pittsburgh, that game, there's a real chance that if Pittsburgh handles their business this week against the Ravens and proves that they're built well enough and coached well enough to come, hold serve against them, that game could be for the AFC 1 seed. So we represent one of the last stiff challenges, or at least a team with really good quarterback play that they're going to see all season long.
Yeah, it's not looking. I would love to have that schedule because the thing is, the NFL, if you're first in your division, you're guaranteed normally quite a tough schedule. Sometimes the NFL doesn't work like that. Retirements, injuries, whatever. Because the thing, like with soccer, you're guaranteed 2 games, like home and away, against your biggest rivals. Okay, and sometimes some surprise team because here, like in the NFL, that doesn't happen. Sometimes you may be lucky, you may avoid those upstarts, you may avoid those things. But yeah, I talked about like I wouldn't mind like the Bills losing now and winning in the playoffs because I know what the ultimate prize is. I know how the NFL works. But as a fan, even of my soccer team, I don't want them to lose a single game. Like I have a rule, like I don't bet against my teams. Like even if
Pete Rose doesn't do that.
Yeah, like yeah, like if the Bills had no players, I would not bet against them, even if it was certain money. It's like it's something I would not be able to do.
And that's because you're a fan, and I get that. I'm the same way. Like I'm the guy who, like, I'll never forget this moment. Like your allegiances are what they are. And so I remember there was a game, my ex-girlfriend and I were sitting down. It's the Jets and the Patriots. And we're like, man, the Jets, stupid ass Rex Ryan. I'm so sick of him. Like, you know what? We're going to root for the Patriots today because we don't want to see Rex Ryan have any sort of success. He had embarrassed us that season when we played them. And I remember her and I having that conversation. And then kickoff rolls around. And the Jets kick off. And the Patriots returner comes out of the end zone with the ball, and he brings it out to about the 15-yard line and just gets stapled. Whoever the Jets player was just absolutely lays this guy out, and I'm jumping off the couch going, yeah! Because I can't root for the Patriots. It's against every single fiber of my being. I can't do it. Can't do it. I'll see them in hell. And it was visceral, and it was instantaneous, and that's just woven into who we are as fans. We make it a part of what we are.
I told you the first time I came here, when I came here the first time, I went to see 2 games. So it was the home opener against the Bengals, and it was against the Patriots. For me, the most weird sensation in the world was in Portugal, rival teams don't mesh. It's like you can buy, apart from like the executive tickets, you buy the best ticket in the house, you go there to your rival's house, and they say, if you're dressed with the team colors, for security reasons, we will not allow you to get in. Don't mix, like, you get spit upon, robbed, punched, kicked, whatever. So they may...
Sounds like all of America right now.
Or maybe just Tonawanda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I went to Tonawanda, and it was a bit run down. Yeah.
It was a bit run down. Yes, Hugo, helping to dunk on Tonawanda. It's the best.
Yeah.
It's a tradition unlike any other.
If they beat me up, I'll
If they beat me up, just stay out of Caputis. You'll be fine.
What's Caputis?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Don't ever find
don't
yourself
ask.
there.
Yeah.
Don't ever find yourself there. But so to your point, there was none of that. I remember you saying it to me. You were like, why were there no fights at Bills Patriots?
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't happen. Like, I come from Portugal where they don't, like small clubs may be okay in some situations, but we don't mix. And I come here, like everyone is mixing and drinking and having fun. I actually prefer it that way, I'll be honest. But it was so alien to me. It's like I was in a different planet.
And now it's like that with the Chiefs. And so you think about what our rivalry with them has become, Chris, and how it's kind of replaced what we had with the Patriots, except that one was totally one-sided. Here, we're actually trading wins and then
this is an actual rivalry.
And eating meaningful losses in the process, which evokes a lot of emotion. I think the thing is here, before we get into the X's and O's of things, a loss here wouldn't just put it wouldn't just put you out of the running for the 1 seed. I think it ends it. I think a loss here against the Kansas City Chiefs ends your pursuit of the 1 seed in the AFC. And I'm not saying that I don't think they can do it. I'm just saying you'd have a real long road. Something catastrophic would have to happen in Kansas City.
Following the trends is like they should have lost against the Broncos and probably should have lost against some other games before. I just see the Bills. I don't follow the rest
So for everybody who's being an agnostic about this, you got to think about it like this. Yeah, exactly. 8-2, they'd have to drop 2, and it's not.
No. If we lose, they have to drop 3.
Yeah, and it's not gonna happen. So then, like, there's a ripple effect in not only the rest of your season, but your preparation for that, and also you'd be letting the rest of the world down. Think about this. Do you think anybody out there wants to see the Chiefs not only win this game, but go on to have an undefeated season?
So that's the thing. Like, we had 20 years of the Patriots and probably looking at 15, 20 years of Kansas. I don't know. Maybe the Bills are cursed. Maybe we are cursed. Who knows? But the thing is, like with the Patriots, there's a lot of other guys who want to see them lose and they keep winning. So maybe we need to reach that level. Like maybe we need the Bills to be the guys that everyone to see lose and we keep winning just to spite them.
I mean, at this point, Chris, we're the Rebel Alliance. Now, you don't know that reference because you barely watch films.
No.
The whole galaxy, if we manage to pull this one off, is going to celebrate. There's going to be fireworks in Cloud City. There's going to be women running around dressed like Princess Leia and Return of the Jedi. It's going to be dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, if the Buffalo Bills can pull this one off.
I actually saw like Ghostbusters 3 and 4 coming here on the airplane, so I would approve of that message.
I love that you know the reference right off the jump. It's just tough because the Bills don't only have to contend with the X's and O's, which are really fascinating to mull over when you think about how these two teams match up. You have to contend with essentially the same dynamic we did for decades when it came to playing the Patriots. You know, we were just talking about them. In fact, earlier today, I was kind of razzing some Patriots fans I work with about, you know, the perfect season and what if the Chiefs pull it off after they beat the Bills? You know, if they beat because they were like, oh, you're going to get beat. And I was like, yeah, we're going to get beat. And then they go on to have a perfect season. And then what if they go seal the deal and they make Tom Brady come out and have to present the perfect season trophy to Patrick Mahomes? And everyone was like, oh, they wouldn't do that. I'm like, nothing would make me happier than them having to bring out Bill Belichick. Because, Chris, I don't think there's any of the 72 Dolphins who can walk down a flight of stairs left, are there?
Yeah, I was going to say that. What does Alf Arteaga...
Does they make Elf come and present the trophy?
Oh,
I mean, he is old. He might remember it. He might remember seeing that happen in person.
Well, I only know his name, so I don't know how old he is.
He's old as shit.
I was actually in Florida.
Love you, Al.
I was actually in Florida, and my first experience with Florida is like, I love the heat. So I can sustain the cold, as you probably know. I love the heat. And I went there, and it was basically air-conditioned. Air-conditioned. It's like, why do you love, or say, oh, we love always good weather, and it's always like 50 Fahrenheit inside buildings with air conditioning. I don't understand it. And I called an Uber. This guy came, and basically he's like stoned out of his mind, watching a TV series driving me to my destination. The scary thing is that he's not even like top 5 worst Uber experience I had. He actually drove me to my destination with no issues.
Hey, that's freedom, baby.
Well,
that is freedom. So, Chris, it's not just the X's and O's you have to you have to contend with ruthless, meticulous, the Patriot way style preparation and coaching. And if you don't believe me, like, he's some asshole on a podcast. He does no research. Dude, I'm still laughing about that. Here's a clip from someone a lot smarter than me when it comes to the game of football. Pat McAfee on ESPN describing the play where Kansas City linebacker Leo Chenal blocked Denver's attempt at a game-winning field goal.
It was the story of the entire game. This is on the right hash, so the upright's over here. So science tells you this ball's going to have to go this way to go through the upright. The field side group is your group. This guy does not deserve to be on a field side of any field goal team that I've ever seen in my entire life. This guy just gets his ass sent. Now, these people are going to fall. There's a chance you're going to fall. Die slowly, though. Leo keeps his feet, battles through, explodes through the ball. It is picture-perfect technique, and it's taking advantage of a fish that they certainly knew. But whenever you talk about perfect execution and paying attention to the details in the biggest moments, that is this Kansas City Chiefs team. So whenever I put out a tweet that the Chiefs is still the Chiefs, and everybody goes, they got lucky. No, the amount of work that they put in on the tiny things, and then also strategically finding out we can get through this guy, and then having the confidence that you can go get it, which Travolta definitely had to have to sell out completely. And that's why they're the only undefeated team. And that's why they were this close to losing, but they don't.
There you go. Pat McAfee Show, ESPN.
Yeah, the guy who probably, I think I heard some things about him, like waking up drunk in a ditch somewhere, but...
Yeah, I mean, dude, listen, we've all been there.
I didn't, but...
In Portugal, we don't do that.
I actually work with people who their nicknames in work were ditches because they woke up drunken in the ditches.
There you go.
But there are people smarter than that. So I think the thing is that there's been a lot of blocked field goals in this season, where teams find out an issue in the protection of the other team, but they keep it on their back pocket, and they only use it in things like this, like when they really need it, like when this is the tying or the winning field goal. Okay, now we're going to boost that fucker that we know about the whole week.
And this is the thing, to know that the Chiefs are well coached enough, right? They're well coached enough and they're focused enough so that in a scenario late in a game where the opposing team is lining up for a chip shot field goal to win a football game, which in almost any other circumstance is an absolute gimme. It's a slam dunk, right? Because most of the players are just too tired to focus, or they're just resigned to the loss, and they're already thinking about next game, next week, what comes next, what I'm doing later tonight, because we fought the good fight and we lost. Here's Leo Chenal that's going out and making a play to save their game, save their perfect season, because he's coached by some of the best to ever do it in Kansas City. And if you think that that's an outlier scenario, let me lay out something for you here, Hugo, and everybody who's listening. In terms of point differential, quarter by quarter, in the first quarter of their games, Kansas City is 26th in point differential. A lot of teams have gotten...
Positive or negative?
These are positive, but that means that they're 26th. So basically, they get, in terms of how many points they score compared to their opponents.
26th in the league?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so not in terms of 26 points positive, so just 26 in the league. Okay.
Yep, 26 points positive.
So they're
more
down...
Yeah.
Bottom of the league.
First quarter point differential. Second quarter, they're 8th. Okay? Third quarter point differential, they're 26th in the NFL. Fourth quarter point differential, they're 5th. So what that tells you is, not only do they rely on their film, they rely on their studies, but also when they get you into the deep water, the end of the first half, when a lot of players are like, all right, let me go, let's get to the locker room, let's just get the hell out of this half, or you've shown your hand. And now Kansas City says, okay, we'll adapt, we'll react to it in real time because we've planned for this. You showed us what we thought you were going to show us, and now we're going to change what we're doing so that we can work around it.
Don't the Bills do the same thing?
We do the same thing.
That's
But
why
it's but our variance isn't nearly this dramatic.
Okay.
Where you go from 26th to a top 10, and it's always at the end. They are one of the best fourth quarter football teams in both phases of the game. That's coaching, that's preparation, right?
And that's confidence problem.
And it's confidence, and it's why they win so many football games.
Too many for my liking.
Because when you look at it statistically, they're the weirdest outlier. Chris, they might be, statistically, the worst 9-0 football team of all time.
Possible.
They're up there with the 2020 Steelers, who got crushed in the wild card round against the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield's first playoff win. And Cleveland went on to lose to Kansas City in the divisional round. And you just look at the teams that came before them, the Titans that kind of went on to shit their pants down the stretch. I don't even think that team made the playoffs.
Wait, am I seeing that correctly? So the Chiefs are 9-0 and they have a lower point differential than the Chargers. The Chargers. So the Chargers have a higher point differential than the Chiefs?
In multiple quarters, yes. But in the fourth quarter of games, there is almost nobody better than the Chiefs.
I think that says everything.
And that tells a story about who they are as a football team. There's also some, like, think about this. The undefeated Patriots were plus 208. Just all quarters combined. They were plus 208.
They were dominating.
The Bills are currently plus 97. The Chiefs are only plus 58.
Yep.
They're playing every single game like their life depends on it. Their balls are always this close to the bandsaw, and yet they come out on top. Now, a lot of it just is preparation and coaching, and you can't, that play McAfee's describing. Leo Chenal, as a second or third year player, you don't just come out of college with that, right? You get that instilled in you by a quality coaching staff. And that's what they have there in Kansas City, and that's why you're seeing this. I mean, 7 of their 9 wins are coming by a single score, and 4 of them literally were won on the final play of the game.
Other thing, I don't know enough about the NFL to know about that. That's special teams. I don't know who's special team coach. I know that, of course, Andy Reid, even since the Eagles, renowned offensive mind. Steve Spagnuolo, defensive mind. I don't know who their special coordinators is.
But either way, it doesn't matter. It's a culture that they've built. And that's why you and Chris, I think it's culture, right? Like,
correct.
Before I get more specific into things about this matchup, culture is the reason that these teams keep running into each other, and it means something. Because they have a similar culture. They're well coached, or at least they're coached better than their corollaries. And so when you look around the NFL landscape, you say these are matchups that are going to keep happening because they keep winning their divisions. So they're always going to be butting heads in that, you won yours, we won ours, we're going to have to play. You're constantly running into this matchup and this cycle of, that's why we were playing the Ravens, is because they won their division. And it's like, all right, we're here.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. And it's almost an honor that we keep running into the Kansas City Chiefs with real skin in the game.
Have you ever seen stock cars in Europe? So if you win the race, you get extra weight for your car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing with the NFL and parity and all, which is you in your division, you play against all the other division winners. Supposedly, if they keep their good quarterbacks and all, that means that if you win the division, next year, your schedule is going to be one of the hardest. But
it doesn't seem to matter.
The Chiefs keep winning. The Bills keep winning.
Yep.
So that means something.
And statistically, when you look at just how gross this Chiefs team is, and it's so weirdly different than they usually are, Chris, even adding DeAndre Hopkins and him having that big game that he had last week, they're still the NFL's worst team in producing chunk plays of 20 or more yards. They are a team that leads the NFL in time of possession, but they don't have big plays, and they don't move the ball well through the air in giant chunks like we're used to seeing in years past.
Sounds like a Xavier Worthy problem.
Yeah.
I can't believe they let the Bills get Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
So the result is, though, this team that's forced to grind out drives to generate points. Now, on its face, that seems like it should create opportunity for opposing defenses, and it does. And that's why so many of their games have been one-score affairs. It allows the defense too many opportunities to make negative plays. That's an area where the Buffalo Bills excel because we have takeaways. We do generate negative plays on offense. We do rush the passer.
So like Jawan Taylor, 4 stars, he also excels in that. Mm-hmm. At least not being coached by the referees. But this is like, so the Chiefs is like my fantasy team, which is like, I only have one quarterback. It's a 2-quarterback league. I only have one quarterback.
I only have one.
No. I'm in second.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, this shouldn't be working, but it is.
But it is, yeah.
Like when you dig into some of the finer metrics, their rushing attack, they are 7th in running attempts and 21st in rushing yards. They're trying to run the football. They're actively trying to, like, you wonder why their drives and why they lead in time of possession. It's because nobody wants to sell out to stop the run because they know Patrick Mahomes exists. So they're content just grinding out 10, 12, 13 play drives. And in that, it's slow. They're a balanced offense, but they're not explosive like we used to see. They're just highly effective. And there's a difference. Like Kareem Hunt, only averaging 3.45 yards per carry.
Have they been explosive since Tyreek Hill left?
Well, and this is the question. Is this just about, but notice they won a Super Bowl.
No, they've been very efficient.
They've been very efficient.
Josh Allen has been.
Mm-hmm. And Josh Allen is finally doing Patrick Mahomes things. Our offense is finally doing Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes things. I'm happy you picked on that because we're going to talk about that in a second. But I want to point out, like Kareem Hunt, they signed him. He's got 5 touchdowns in 6 games.
Did not be enough for him.
But he's not efficient on a per-touch basis. When they use him in the red zone, he knows how to get 3 yards and fall forward. And when you're only 20 yards from the end zone or less, that means something. But between the 20s, he's not much of a threat, and they don't really have anything else without Isaiah Pacheco. I mean,
my IR.
His 1.9 yards per contact, yards before contact. He's not a fast running back. He's moving very slowly.
He's old for a running back.
Exactly. He's a I know the system guy, not an, hey, I joined your system and I'm explosive in it. And so because of that, they really struggle to run the ball off tackle. They don't do a good job when you ask them to stretch runs, when you're talking about outside zone counters, when you're talking about, or just like backfield misdirection plays. So the lack of explosion means that they don't call a lot of them.
So is that good? Because
it's really
ran with light boxes?
Well, that's really good because also Dorian Williams, one of the things that crosses him up the most is just eye candy. He falls for it a lot. I think a huge part of this is that there's not a lot of eye candy they can build into their rushing attack because their running back group doesn't have upper echelon athleticism. Now, when Isaiah Pacheco comes back, he's faster and you can do more things. But even then, he's more of a north and south runner. I think that this group of Bills defenders is an interesting matchup against what the Kansas City Chiefs are forced to be on offense because of the roster makeup.
I don't want to be ahead of you, but as a Bills fan, what I'm worried about is, okay, Keon Coleman doesn't play. What about if Cooper doesn't play?
So if they're both out, it's really interesting because I've got some of these formational quirks that I've found about their team. Like, when you look at them on defense, they've been rolling out a lot of linebackers. They've been rolling out a lot of heavier formations. Like, I've got it up here in front of me.
3 linebackers like we're back in 10 years ago?
So when I look at their statistics and I look at the defensive snap share, Trent McDuffie leads all players. He's played every snap of the season. He's an Iron Man. You go on down the line here, I'll even show you. Justin Reed, Ryan Cook, Nick Bolton, okay? There's your next one. So now you've got one cornerback and one linebacker.
Bolton and I see Tranquil. That's 2 linebackers.
Tranquil.
Oh, okay. So Chanel is.
So what you end up doing
40%.
But look at this.
45%.
And what they're doing is they're either playing a safety down in the box, so a big nickel.
Okay.
Or
Hugo, you can confirm over there that Drew does research.
Well, it seems so.
So they run big nickel and base a ton. Like, they're using their third linebacker on 45%
So
of
they're
their snaps.
stealing everyone's Bills Mafia dream of the big nickel.
And yes. And not only that, though, what they're doing is they're using, like Leo Chenal, they use him. He's definitely not a coverage player. So what they do is they line up and they try to say, look, we're going to bring pressure. And we're going to try to do a number of different things to force you to play to, kind of dictate play to you. We're going to fill the box. When we see you line up in 11 personnel, that's fine. We'll bring a safety down. And then what we'll do is we'll play a shallow zone and we'll still stick in our base and we'll send one of these linebackers on a blitz. Their goal is to try to dictate pace of play out of that base formation to your front, knowing that you don't have enough blockers to block every single person in their front seven with hat and a hat.
Okay, I haven't been looking. Has it been working?
It's been working well enough that they squeak out these games. No one's been able to run up the score on them. And when you look at their statistics on the whole, right?
But who have they been playing that could have run the score on them?
Chris, pull up the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. 2024, there it is. I turned off my number lock because I'm an ass. Pro Football Reference. 2024 Kansas City Chiefs Pro Football Reference.
Because that's the thing. I followed the Bills. I don't follow the Chiefs.
Sure, of course not. So when you take a look down here, first of all, stop right there. Scroll down one. Okay, so on defense, their ranks on the bottom, points against their fifth best scoring defense in the NFL. It's working.
No, I say.
So now scroll down.
So who have they played against?
The Ravens.
Okay, so Ravens, that's Ravens and Bengals, but, well, I think, I don't know.
49ers.
When they were injured.
The Buccaneers who have been
but
scoring.
a lot of the teams were like finding their own feet, like Ravens, Bengals. Well, the Falcons, I don't think they have found because they even have lost now. But
none of them are Josh Allen. Let's put it this way: none of them are the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen.
I have a talk because I drove 6 hours today. I had run out of podcasts. I had to listen to the national media. I almost barfed. So it was like, so who's the MVP? Lamar Jackson. Sorry if I will bring it up, like Lamar Jackson. But there's Josh Allen and all. So when they were doing like their voting and they had, we need to vote 3 quarterbacks, it was like Lamar Jackson, Daniels, and Hurts. and I was like, what the fuck? He's like, how they were just like, Josh Allen lost Diggs, and then they came.
And you don't think
they came Lamar Jackson, he's better than last year. He's the runaway MVP. But there's like Daniels, he's very good. And they were just talking about like their support cast and it's like, have they seen who Allen has been trying to?
So there's a point to be made that there's also skin in the game for Allen in this, as far as like
Sorry,
you could win.
You.
No, it's okay. You could win this game and go out there and prove a point. You could send a message, and if for a guy who we know is petty and has a chip on his shoulder, maybe that means something. But when you look at the actual formational stuff, Kansas City is going to come out and try to bully the Bills. And they're going to do it knowing that we probably won't have some of our best pass catchers at our disposal.
Yep.
And that's going to be on their offensive coordinator to figure out. Like, we're going to have to, like, Chris, can you say that this is probably the first real test where Joe Brady's going to have to outduel one of the best?
I mean, I thought Baltimore and Houston were challenges in their own right, but
how those go.
Not good. This is also your other test. I think this is their tough stretch.
Yep.
With Kansas City, San Francisco, and Detroit, plus a bye week coming up. It's going to be tough for them.
I think the difference is the other guys aren't in your conference. I think the fact that this is a conference game, again, you've already lost to 2 other teams in your conference who somehow out-offensively produced you, and that not only did they outproduce you, but you made glaring mistakes in those games. This is an opportunity for Bobby Babich and Joe Brady to show that they've learned from the mistakes of the past in those other conference games that they lost.
That's how you get it done. You fire one of these on, you come out like a champion every time. Trust me, I know.
Oh, yeah.
So then the other thing that I noticed when I was taking a look at some of the formational stuff from Kansas City, they run very little 11 personnel. Again, we're talking about a kind of plotting offense that doesn't have a whole lot of quick strike capability anymore. The Rashee Rice injury probably skews a lot of things, right? He was their most effective receiver last year. He opened the season gangbusters, and then he gets hurt. Hilariously, Patrick Mahomes knocks him out of the season.
Well, he also knocked a lot of people out on the drive.
Oh, yeah, no, I joked about it afterwards. I was like, I wonder if as he was getting carted off in a cast, he was like, so this is what it feels like. So this is what it feels like to get carted away after a crash. Xavier Worthy and Justin Watson are both sitting at 63% of the snap share. Now, it's gotten like things that D-Hop will play more, but a part of me thinks that he'll almost replace Justin Watson and that Xavier Worthy and Justin Watson will kind of rotate. And here's why I think that. Kingsley Samatia, Samatia, I don't know, and I don't care. He's a fat guy. All right, a fat guy in a red shirt, looks like the Kool-Aid man. I don't give a shit. He's got 25% of the snap share this season, which is more than Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, or Sky Moore. Sky Moore, former second-round draft pick. You have a swing tackle who's getting more snaps than anybody who might play wide receiver 3 for your team. What that tells me is that you've identified the fact that you don't trust them. And so in that way, you might roll them out in special situations, but they're not getting a lot of targets. They're not, Chris, if you want to scroll down here, Kansas City Chiefs. How many hang on, receiving, go down, scroll, and stop. Okay, so receiving, and just give me targets. Just sort that by targets. Right there to your left, bang. Okay. Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, 43 targets, only 20 catches and 246 yards. His yards per target is only 5.7, which is the lowest on the team. At a certain point, Xavier Worthy is going to have to they have to start looking at other guys. Justin Watson, meanwhile, has caught most of the passes they've sent to him. 15 catches and 18 targets, 177 yards. His yards per target sit right around, what is that? Yards per target, right around 9.8, which is up near the top of the team. So they're giving Xavier Worthy, it's like they're trying to break him in and fast track him to being a reliable part of the offense. He's just not there yet.
Yeah, 46%. But
hang on a second. So what you end up with is this place where you go, okay, so you took Xavier Worthy late in the first round. You also drafted a Sky Moore, who right now is useless for you. He's had 3 targets and no receptions.
Oh, you have to spend it next year.
He's terrible. You've got a Jody Fortson who just doesn't produce anything. I mean, he's a good tight end. He can give you some blocking, but he's not a pass catcher. You start looking at the makeup of the roster and you go, you picked a lot of guys. None of them are producing for you in terms of offense. So all of a sudden your passing attack with no Rashee Rice has to be driven through Travis Kelce, and there's really not anybody else close. That's where DeAndre Hopkins comes in. Just in his 2 starts for them, he's already got as many receiving yards as Justin Watson has in 9. That's telling. Now, maybe this dynamic, like I said, I don't think with Mecole Hardman's 11 targets, I just don't see them running a ton of 11 personnel. And that, I go back and forth whether that's a benefit to the Bills or not. Because in one hand, with slow running backs running out of power formations, there's things you can do with an athletic second level there at the defense in the front 7 with Dorian Williams, Terrell Bernard. There's also this concept that, because obviously you don't want to play base 4-3 defense against that. You don't want to try to go toe-to-toe with them and let them dictate what they want to do to you.
We have Teron Jackson. We will not get him out of the field. We will not play base.
No. So what you end up having to do, you don't want to put rookie Joel Andreessen out there.
I actually bought the shirt for him just like for the Buffalo reminder Joe? In a few years. Yeah. Future legend.
So this is where you talk about how can the Bills, they've got Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, and this Samadia guy. 25% of the snaps. Kelsey and Gray, they run 2 tight ends more than 60% of the time. They are quietly, like, they've condensed their offense. Now they're playing with power. Well, how do you contest that?
I don't know.
You don't go to base because that's what they want you to do. The Bills going to base means they have to put Joe Andreessen or what's his face? Chris, who's the guy that I was pounding the table that they signed and then he stunk?
Nick Morrow?
Nick Morrow. You're going to have to put one of those guys in the field, and this is no different than the A.J. Klein game against him in the playoffs. Instead,
we were still close, correct?
Yeah, don't get me started. We didn't stop him at all on defense.
I just want to make a question, because I'm a guy with the elephant memory sometimes for some things. Is like Michael Hardman, while playing for the Jets, called the Chiefs GM about, like, get me back. Has been any fines, issues about it?
No, nothing.
So it's the Chiefs?
No, it's the Chiefs.
Yeah. Okay.
But here's what you can do. You can play big dime. See, you never want to talk about hiding Teron Johnson. He's one of your best players. He's the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. He is, you know what I mean? Like, he is a very talented player.
I see a lot of stupid Bills fans in Twitter saying, why don't we play base? Why don't we play base? And the answer is Taron Johnson.
Yeah, why would you take him off the field ever? He's one of your best players, and he's one of the most highly paid defensive backs in the entire league.
One of the reasons that we can play the defense we play. And that's me, a Portuguese guy, don't know a lot of NFL. If I know this, if you're on Twitter asking why don't the Bills play base, look at me and say, I'm stupid.
What you can do, though, is you can play big dime. So the Bills have been quietly playing a lot of dime this season. And it wasn't a thing in their defensive repertoire in years past. So they're rolling out 4 defensive backs. It's usually Cam Lewis or Jamarcus Ingram. But there exists a world where you can look at certain down and distance and say, okay, I need bigger bodies because they're probably still going to try to run it on 3rd and 4.
That's fair.
But I also want to be prepared in the event that they do try to put more wide receivers on the field just to kind of get me into a lighter look so that they can run it on 3rd. There exists a world where you go to a dime look that consists of a Jamarcus Ingram or a Teron Johnson paired with a Cole Bishop, someone who's a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical, can play inside the box so you don't have to worry about him like watching a play develop in front of him. You can put him in the slot, and then you can do a lot of things around that with your defensive backs who are still very good against the run and who are very instinctive against the run. Play with some physicality. You know, Jamarcus Ingram does that very well. I think that if you were ever going to experiment with it, this is the time just to see if you can do it. And I think that is going to have to be how you try to hold serve against this team. Now, Chris, that brings me to my keys to victory.
Wow, that's a lot of keys. Bigger the keychain, more powerful the man.
I mean, it's low-hanging fruit to say you have to win the line of scrimmage. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the Chiefs have a better defensive and offensive line. I think they've, with the Chris Jones on defense and just some of the players they have there, I think that they're just more adept to playing that style of football.
Make sure you win it on field goals and extra points, too.
Well, yeah. No, Tyler Bass's role in this is going to be huge because every point's going to matter. But one of the keys to victory is going to be you have to try to win that defensive line of scrimmage. And this is where I think they're vulnerable. The Bills have had no problem putting up points against Kansas City. You know, in the playoffs, we've done it. It's always that, like, razor-thin margin down the stretch where
we have, like, a lot of periods that we get, like, 3 and outs and all of that. So there were periods on offense where we failed to have points.
But they have them, too, but I guess that's it. They don't have them, too. On defense, we have never really gotten after the Chiefs. We've never really made their life hard on the defensive line.
Correct.
A lot of that has to do with team health and it being the playoffs. Like all those playoff losses, you look at it and you look at the defensive linemen who are missing. You look at the front 7 players who are missing. And you say, okay, I get it. You know, you like last year, you know, Greg Rousseau had a foot injury. Daquan Jones was coming back from a pec injury, I believe it was.
We had couch linebacker, A.G. Klein.
You just have a lot. Von Miller was still kind of fighting his way back. Not the Von Miller we've seen this season.
Von Miller should have been shut out last year.
Yes. And so with the, I think AJ Epinesa also had a rib injury at that point. Like everybody on the defensive line was hurt. It's not an excuse. It's just the reality.
It's NFL.
You have an opportunity with a relatively healthy defensive line. You got to go out there and show that against probably the worst offensive line that they've had in a while. Juwan Taylor's not perfect. He
gets away with false starts.
The young left tackle that they have isn't impervious to being beaten. You have to exploit that, and you have to find ways to beat them in the trenches and force those punts. We failed to generate meaningful pressure and get them off the field in meaningful situations, but this is the healthiest our line's been in a while when we've had a shot at them. So let's go out there and do something with that. Let's show that matters. And who knows, maybe when we see them again in the playoffs, it won't be. So let's make it count for something today. The only other key I have, Chris, because there's a million things you could do, right? Like you could sit here and talk about, well, if I chase this player and I try to get this guy and that matchup and I try to get to this thing, you know what it's going to take?
Robbing Mahomes' house because it's an away game.
Wait, wasn't Kelsey's house also robbed?
Yeah.
Do you know how, it's terrible, right?
So the plan is to get enough money to go to Super Bowl?
Yeah.
That's how we afford our Super Bowl tickets?
Oh.
We Ocean's 11 Patrick Mahomes.
Or Ocean's 3 in this case, but yeah.
Listen, I don't think the three of us are smart enough to pull that off. I just don't think we're talented enough.
Well,
it could work because if it was like the three of us and we had to get into a building, we could rely on you just to scale it with your gorilla arms, like Godzilla.
No, what we would do is like his Alf Puerto Rican, they would target him and we could get away with it.
That's profiling, brother. Preparation and focus. This is it. This is where you find out. Here's a team that knows they're not hot shit, but knows that they work harder and prepare better than every team in football, and that's why they're still undefeated. As Pat McAfee said, Chiefs are going to Chiefs. They have an edge in every matchup so far this season because they have over-prepared, over-executed everybody else they've gone up against. But by all sorts of fancy metrics, if you want to look at on defense, average drive yardage, points per drive allowed, scoring percentage, turnovers forced percentage, the Bills are better than the Chiefs on defense over the course of the season. They score more points on offense statistically. And more importantly, we're not stuck carrying around the scar tissue of years past. I think it's how Brandon Beane put it, and it's really fitting. We're not stuck with a roster full of players who are used to losing in these circumstances. We've got new faces. We've got plenty of guys. Like this is a game where Dwayne Smoot not being available might hurt you because you wish you had a more quality rotation at defensive end. But you don't have the players who are lining up in the locker room going, oh, man, another game against the Chiefs where they're just going to pull some shit out of their ass that we haven't seen or that we weren't prepared for, and they're going to outthink us at the gun, and that's going to be the end of it. Instead, you've got a room full of fresh faces who are going, why not me? Why can't I be the guy who derails that perfect season?
Well, but I think you still have enough veterans, and I think that's still enough of seeing the Bills win year after year, at least a lot of wins, that ought to be like, this is the year that I'm going to beat. And we actually have beaten them on the regular season. So it's not that we have players that we have won against the Chiefs. It's not like, oh, we never won against the Chiefs. Like in soccer, that may happen. Like there are teams, we have like 10-year spells where they play each other, home away, never got the fucking win. And then that affects them. Like here is like, there's players here, like we have won last year, we have won the year before. They know we can win. I think it's like, okay, let's win. But I think the real mental point is when we meet them in the playoffs. Because we have won them like I think it's 3-1 with our record in the regular season. If I'm not mistaken.
Last 3 wins.
Yeah. Okay, so we won. So the thing is, we know we can win. Now, can we win when it counts?
And here's a meaningful stat. Because usually I give the line of the game at the top of the show. The spread on this is 2.5 points. Chris, do you know that Patrick Mahomes is 11-1-1 as an underdog against the spread? And 10-3 straight up in his career.
Well, one more loss wouldn't do me any wrong.
We're flirting with, like, there's all sorts of records here waiting to be broken. There's all sorts of history here that the Bills could, in theory, and hopefully, can go out and change. Because you don't know. A win over a team like this right now puts you on a different course. A loss here, like we're at the fork in the road, philosophically. A loss here doesn't end your season. We're still a 99% chance to make the playoffs. But Chris, now you know the one seed's out of play. What happens to the rest of your season? What are you playing for? What does your playoff path look like? Now, maybe that still changes, but if you win this weekend, you at least know that you're one step farther completely controlling your own destiny.
Yeah, Drew,
Yes.
you know this. What's my winning percentage when Josh Allen finishes the game?
When Josh Allen plays a complete game and doesn't get knocked out.
No. When I'm here watching the Bills
Yeah.
and Josh Allen finishes the game, what is my winning percentage?
Undefeated, sir. He rests
I hope I keep that way.
He rests his case. Guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. 4180 Abbott Road. We're going to be out there all morning cooking up some grub. We'll be ferrying people back and forth across the way to Doc's to the Mafia House.
What time can we get in there?
I'll tweet it out. Make sure you're following us at Rockpile Report. If you're interested in parking with us, give us a tweet or reach out on Facebook or via email. Chris, what email do you want people using these days?
I would just say the rockpilereport@gmail.com. That's
I'll bring some icy
concise.
patches for you so you can last until the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know somebody's been messaging our Instagram account that they're coming, but they haven't. I was like, you gotta let me know if you're gonna Jimmy Kennedy. Let me know if you want to park with us. We gotta get it.
I like he's
Get it
getting
in.
called out on the podcast.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been a lot of fun. Huge thank you to Hugo for joining us for this. But guys, we got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. That's Hugo Carmona, who literally copied Chris's hairstyle. This has not been lost on me.
Do you want to tell why?
I'd rather die.
I said he's going to make the field goal, and I'm going to go to Chris's haircut. Sorry, it's like I haven't styled my hair for 20 years because I've been with a woman for 23. But really nice hairdresser. And I went there and I said, I'm going to cut my hair as Chris. Well, sort of, because she does its own thing. And, well, that's the result. Bills won, and hopefully we'll get another win next.
I hope when you get home, your lady looks at you and goes, the fuck is that on top of your head? Hugo, cheers. Guys, this has been your Rockpile Report.